We're on. Camera's on, Corbin. Meow. There we go. Hi, everybody. It's Friday. It's Friday. No one's more surprised than me. It is Friday. It has been a great, super groovy week. And it's going to be a groovy weekend. Hey, 9 o'clock, Sunday night, Jim Luan's channel. He's going to be doing his first stream, his first new kind of stream. And check it out. He's going to be talking about process. He's going to be talking about steps that he takes in the generation of the animated films that he makes. You got to go and see that. Hey, it's been a good week. We've got lots of things done. This is yesterday's page. Well, last night's page, and whatever you want to call it. It's the one that I was doing in the stream yesterday. And so I painted this sucker. And let me switch the camera so that you can see the original. So I was painting this on a board, a board with stretcher on it, you know, and putting those images together. And then the scanning process I found disappointing, honestly, because it picks up, as much as it's cool that it picks up some of the modulations on the surface, at the same time, it also just picks up the grain of the wood. And me no likey. So did a little bit additional modifying of the image a little bit with some little Bengay dots in the back and having some fun with the text. Yep, that's right. And yeah, feels good. So it's been a good week. This is the day before. I got a lot of responses to this page, like from a number of people that I haven't heard from before. And wow, that was really nice, really exciting. I don't know if it's the topic. I don't know if it's the stylistic approach to it, using the pencil crayon and that. I'm not sure, but yeah, good impact. So this is the day before that. If wishes were horses. Another feel-good page. This whole week I've had feel-good pages. You know, sometimes there's a page or two that you do over the course of a week and you go, that needs a little more. This week I feel good. It's a feel-good week. Hey kids, take a look at this one. Hey comic kids, remember when comics had cool ads on the back? This was a lot of fun to do as well. This is ballpoint, and then playing a lot with the information behind the ballpoint characters and using the computer. So, and then before that was the 2-page piece on Monday, which I'm quite pleased by. This is something I did a year or so. I drew a year or so ago in pencil, and I just sat down and finished it on the weekend. And what was a 4-page piece is now turned into a 2-page. But sometimes that refinement that we do, and as we become more informed and more equipped with our creativity, has great benefits to us. And I feel this is a lot stronger now in the 2 pages. So, but there's yesterday's once again. What am I missing? With the lights out, entertain us. Oh, I don't know if my libido can take that, Jim. Yeah. So it's been a good week. Been a lot of fun. Having some good feelings of productivity. At this point, this page is numbered as 53. I'm on 62 finished pages now. So I am thinking maybe I should start thinking about what am I going to do with these. So yeah, and I mentioned this yesterday. I'm going to be setting up some. I'm trying to figure out where to go, what sites to use, what are the best ones where I'm not going to get absolutely lost in a shuffle of anime or manga or whatever the hell it's called when you put it on the computer. Manga, I guess it is. But I've got 2 webtoon pieces lined up now that are each at least 24 pages each. So I need to find a home for those, and I'm gonna just start posting those on there every few days. I'll put another one up. They're already all done, but So, I didn't show this, by the way, before I forget. Remarriage and Dishes. I never showed the original page the other day. I was reminded of by somebody last night. So this is that. It's just pencil crayon drawings and then marker drawings for the two other panels, and then the rest of that was all modification in the computer. So today's suggestion is from Mr. Lujan, who's joined us here today. There's our talking points. Today's suggestion is a close-up. It's more like an instructional, and I generally don't do instructionals, except for this one's fun. Close-up of a face divided like a map. Each section listed as its own country. Oh, political. So, yeah, I'm down with that bad sound. I've got some ideas for that, and especially in light of all the sort of junk that's going on in the world today. But it's an interesting thing to approach a piece in this manner. So what I was thinking about doing was breaking down a large face. Now, and it says divided into 4 quadrants. Your initial idea was, hold on, let me get a piece of, I'm sorry. Music of the day, Harry Belafonte. And things falling over in the studio. Yeah, musical listening for the afternoon here is Harry Belafonte. So it's really old stuff. I'm listening to Coconut Water right now. I like the Harry Belafonte. I don't know if he's politically correct for people or not. 1 second. Grabbing the sketchbook. Okay, Corbin, get out of the way. Okay, so here we are. Fresh, brand new piece of paper. Well, ish. Hi, Didi. Welcome aboard. Okay, so the idea is we've got close up. I'll write it down here. Close up a face divided like a map with each. Maybe I missed a word. It might have said 4. It's face divided in 4. Each section listed as its own country. So is this pen dying on me as I'm writing? Went in the garbage. All right. Okay, so there's our suggestion for today. Now, initially, I think the idea would be for most people is to sit down and draw this typified, there's a head looking right at us, and I'm going to divide it this way. I just got a call from California, Los Angeles. Interrupting my Harry Belafonte. This is boring. All right. As much as this has, you can try to make your same kind of a statement. This is, there's nothing to that. There's no real impact to that. I don't know if people remember this, but back in the day in schools, we used to have the kids sitting right here, hands on the lap, right? Maybe even holding a teddy bear, right? And then right here behind the kid, it was a little vignette. Sometimes they're in these oval patterns. Sometimes they were in these fade outs. But you'd have another shot of the same kid with a different expression, right? And they're just, or the parents, or another sibling, or whatever it is. But it's, just weird photography from the 70s and 80s. But the point being, sometimes you'd get another effect that I remember, and this is the initial, this reminded me of it originally, but another shot that you would get would be your parent's head. Does anybody remember these? You get a parent's head or one image of yourself from a profile. And then, but this is all toned out, all around here. I don't know if you know this, but shorthand for inking, if you've got large black areas to fill in, you don't have to fill in all the lines or material for that. Just place a number of little X's. That tells the inking process to fill that in with a big black. All right, so you'd get these silhouette profiles of somebody's face, and then they would put this image right here where the kid is sitting there with the teddy bear or whatever, and whether it's the parent's head or the kids themselves from a different viewpoint, or grandma's, or whatever it is. They were just such random processes that they would do in the 70s and 80s. So that got me to thinking. So with an idea like this, close-up of face divided with each section listed as its own country, it's a real opportunity for it to be a real dialogue piece. What I mean by that is you can take a portrait of, your warrior leader type guy, okay, where he's looking all noble in the image. And if you take that and you break it down, so see what I'm doing? I'm playing with the frames and trying to figure out where would I place that on the page. Silhouette is exactly the word. Oh, hey, now that's nice. That is really nice. Hi, Leanne. That is really super cool. It's nice to be able to do time like that. I spent the entire day today cleaning the entire house, like doing the vacuuming and wiping everything down, Lysol, the whole bit of business, and mopping the floors. And that was my day. And the reason for all of that is because it's been go for Lori and I for weeks. It's not going to be this weekend. So just wanted to free up anything that we had to do. So then this weekend, we're just going to do whatever we want. I'm leaning hard into just sitting back, unbuttoning the old shirt here, and playing with the belly button. You know what I mean? You got to investigate that region. So the idea would be to take this guy's head, and then this is boring. Directional is interesting. So if we look at the division of space on an angle, I think that it brings a nice little angle. It brings a nice new perspective to executing this kind of an idea. Now, there's a thing that when I was a kid, we would get out rolled craft paper because that was the cheapest stuff to buy. And being an impoverished family, if you could find that stuff, and it was usually stuff that was donated from organizations or institutions, or like the newspaper company in town, stuff like that. And they would have it at food banks or social assistance community centers. And if you could get a roll of that, my gosh, you had paper for the year. That or it's typewriter paper, which was actually considered expensive. But I would sit down and I would have my mom trace my head, right? And go, off you go. And so I would fill my head with whatever thoughts or ideas that I'm having. It's a thing I've done so many drawings like that I tend not to think about doing them at all anymore. But the reality is I loved these and I still do. I'm sorry, my tip on my nose is really bugging me. So yeah, that's basically the idea of what we're doing right now. The difference being is that we're going to get a little more creative with that. And so one of the things that we can think about is it says each section is listed as its own country. Well, with the divisional axis that we've set up across the confines of the face, what we've actually done is cheated a little bit, because this enables me to look at the division of the image, the division of the page like that. So it's not just confined to the head alone, to the silhouette alone. And it affords us the opportunity to take this farther along. We can have continuance in the area outside the head, while we might have map symbology at some point. we could have, the victims of war in here. We could have helicopters flying in here. We could have, revolutionaries, guerrilla fighters over here. Whatever it is, it just affords us so much more space to get so much more creative with. And like I said, the facility that we're presented with, hey, it's Penny. Hi, Penny. Oh, thank you very much, Penny. You're super cool. I appreciate that. That's very nice. I really appreciate everybody signing up. I can't say that enough. I got right into business today because it's been one of those days where, because I'm so engaged in other stuff, the creative need to attack was in me because I've been spending the whole day purely cleaning. Yeah, Penny's really nice. I met Penny through Dee Dee. Dee Dee cannot express enough how cool Dee Dee is and how welcoming her entire community has been in joining up. So that's super, super nice. So because I drove right into things and, oh no, oh my gosh, you're right. I should stop. I got to stop. Or I got to really mess with the Joshua Kemble. For anybody that doesn't know, is a comic artist and a writer. But Josh has been obsessed with playing Risk, and he plans on becoming a grandmaster at it. So he keeps posting these videos at night of him playing Risk with people. And yeah, this suggestion might play into that thing going on with Josh Kemble right now. So maybe I should think about incorporating some facet of the Risk mask or Risk map into this imagery someplace. So that's really true. Yeah. So anyways, I got right into the whole, let's get crack-a-lacking on the image. Let's get rolling and start breaking it down and talking about the conception point of it. But what I really, the principal thing I really wanted to talk about today is how thankful I am. 100 people. That's not a lot to other people. I recognize that. You got whatever person that dances in a squirrel costume, the 100,000 people watching them, say, dance along to the Bee Gees. I don't know what they do, but 15,000 people tuned in on every video, 100,000 followers. That doesn't matter to me. What I really appreciate is, 100 people still having a relative idea of who's on board here, and so that's why I really want to say thank you, and of course, continue to offer the opportunity of, if you got a one-page comic idea that you can put in 1 or 2 sentences, put it here in the chat or in the comment section below the video. Forgot to put that at the front too. Yeah, so, here we go. So that's my initial idea. So what I was saying a moment ago is that the idea that is presented to us because of being able to draw images together and scan them. And then once they're put into the computer and put into a Photoshop program or something like that, whatever you use, it allows us to further our image, to take these original ideas and especially, looking at reference of doing some pencil crayon drawings of some random panel images. But then we can take that and form that into the pages we did. It's one thing to just scan your image and put the letters on top. But why not play further? Why not push that harder? So when I'm talking about drawing parts of this image, and I mean like drawing some helicopters over here or drawing a bunch of refugees trying to get away from a battle zone, I'm going to try to find a fun and interesting and exciting way to incorporate these together. And Risk board. So let's just write Risk board right on my notes. Refugees. If there's any other aspects of war. And then, of course, utilizing this confluence point right here in some rough kind of way. I don't think it has to be hard lined. I think that if it follows borders, to me, that might just be even more compelling. If the borders figure like this on a map, hey, that works fine too. But incorporating that confluence point in that way affords us 8 to 10 images that we can lap into each other here. You can have another image cut over top, right? You can have another image cut across the bottom here, give it some kind of points of balance, or run, the text can be run like this to sort of give some sort of degree of symmetrical balance against whatever we have in the composition on this side. There's so many different ways that we can play with this together. So all that being said, this is another fun one. Yesterday's suggestion, orange like a fake tan in a bottle, is such a random thing. It's such a random, like it was part of conversation, and I think I just said that's ridiculous. That'd be a one-page idea to try, because it's such a ridiculous suggestion in the sense that, well, what does it mean? And that's part of the fun for me. That's the extreme challenge of having to try to figure out, well, how do I do this in a narrative way? How do I utilize this suggestion in a narrative way? Now, what Jim's given today of a close-up on a face divided like a map with each section listed in its own country. Well, there's really no applied narrative structure there. There isn't. There's because a sentence actually at least has some sort of connotation or interaction, some textual interaction with an idea. Whereas an image description, which is why I tend to turn them down, because I've been given some really, really, okay, so a hot girl, I've had a few of those, right? And a fireman with fire powers, you get, and he's jumping through a window with his axe. That was a suggestion for me once. That's a drawing, right? So fitting it into a narrative becomes the challenge. That was a piece that actually there's something I could do with it. I could actually tell a story of it. But it's already been used as a convention in a comic book. There was a character called Ash in the 1990s by the guy that went on to become the director of Marvel Comics. And I can't remember his name. Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti did that book, and Fireman with Fire Powers. And I think the worst suggestion, I've actually got this a few times, is a surfer with water powers. It's one of those things that, it's a fairly common notion for a comic. It's a weird one. Nowadays, it's not so much surfer, it's skateboarder. But anyhow, so I didn't do it on that principle. But so taking our notes, and we're looking at, so we need to figure out a silhouetted image. Now, just doing it purely as a silhouette, okay, like if we just do it as the shape of the person's head, that's fine. But it's limited, right? It only gives us the idea of using this purely as shape. But what I was referring to earlier with having the facility of Photoshop, we don't have to just stick to shape. We can embed visual images together. So this is my intention. So I've taken, now the problem with taking is just a face is that there's always sort of, people will want to put a contextual meaning to just a face. I'm using FDR again. I have purely because I have an image of him kicking around. Now, I'm using FDR because he has a solid shape to his face that is honestly just sort of generic old man leader type. I don't want to do Biden. I don't want to do Trump. I don't want to do Putin. I don't want to do the Ukrainian guy. I have no investment in any of these modern struggles or any of these modern leaders. And I don't want anybody to assign or apply their own political meaning or their political context that they view things through towards just a image. It's just an image. So generic old white guy. That's what I went for here. So so the idea being is that if I look at his face and structure it down, and what I've got in my lap is a random tiny little really blurry picture and really heavily contrasted picture of FDR, right? So that's what I'm using. And because I'm using that, this forces me to think more. This forces me to consider more of the different elements of his face, right? And so, but it also allows me to take some more license and not be trapped inside of this is the specific way he has to look. So it lets me play, right? I like being allowed to play. I'm curious to hear what everybody else is working on. I announced it at the start of today's stream. I'm going to do it again. Jim Luan, who I think he might still be here, is doing a stream on Sunday at 9 p.m. EST, 6 p.m. PST, and talking about his process, talking about his upcoming work, his upcoming projects, here on the U of Tubes. I'm looking forward to that. I like Jim's work. It's individual. It's individual in the sense that, for me, a compliment that says a person paints with their own brush, or it's uniquely theirs, while other people go, "What do you mean? Is that good?" It's good, because if there's one thing that I have a really crazy memory, and my really crazy memory of remembering all these visual things that I've seen or read, or I like seeing somebody who has a voice that isn't anybody else's. So, what do we got? Dee Dee is working in her SOIC. Would that be it? Society of Idea Collectors book. Dee Dee, I'd be really interested to hear you describe what that is. And Dee Dee, I'd also like to talk to you about having you come on next week, if you're up for that one of the days next week, to come and join me for one of the streams. But we could talk later. But if you want to express a little bit more about what SOIC is, that'd be great. And Jim is working on the full fungus. The full fungus. All right. That's awesome. I was just going to ask you, Jim. Hey, man, how's your movie going? Didi says, lots of lists, mind mapping, and info collecting. Fantastic. That is fantastic. Love it. Yeah, this is what sketchbooks are. That's brain spaz, right? This is the most important thing for your sketchbooks to be, in my mind, is just attacks of putting together ideas and notions, and it doesn't have to be gathering and collating. I'm a big fan of that. Penny's got something right on. Collaging the covers of a store-bought journal. Nice. I love it. That's fantastic, Penny. I'm going to star all three of these things because I really appreciate you guys jumping in there. 4 things. We're just Frank Salazar, Frankly Mapleton has joined us. Frankly, what are you working on? Oh yeah, of course, yes, it is, Penny. It's very relaxing once you get into a working mode, right? That putting collaging images or stuff, you just becomes organic, but you're messy as a maniac, I bet. That's the thing about collaging. I talked on the stream the other day about, after I watched Dee Dee opening up actual books, and she's collaging in these actual printed volumes. And I own a couple of those books, Dee Dee. I didn't know there's an entire series, I got to be honest. A. And B, the fact that you're collaging in the pages blew my mind out of my, like, just blew my mind right out, because I'm like, why have I never done that? That is brilliant, you guys. And if a bunch of you are doing that, I look forward to seeing some more, because yes, if that doesn't just dial it in, I don't know what does. But it also, I don't know if how much consideration has gone through your thinking process on that. But that's like a really sort of subconscious way to teach yourself, what does it look like for your work to be inserted into a book. Well, you're getting firsthand understanding of that, because of the fact that you're collaging specifically in that. It's almost like a training ground for yourself to have some uniformity to all these images that you're putting together. So that's pretty fantastic. Dee calls it reverse collating. I really like that. I really collaging. I was going to say collating. Reverse collaging is, yeah, that's even better. Makes more sense. Yeah, I think that it's a brilliant idea, and it's something I want to investigate more. What is Frankly saying? I call Frank Frankly Mapleton now. That's his Canadian name, and I'm a big advocate that anybody that embraces Frank's fascination with Canada is to call him Frankly. I'm working on a page of the comic I was doing for an Adams anthology. I thought it was your anthology, but now it will be something for my Gumroad as a PDF at least. Fantastic, Frank. Get a star. Bam! I star things out. I don't know what starring things does, but I'm starring things. That's the things that I go, oh, that's fantastic for sharing. Dee has literally hundreds of collaging vids on her channel. I know, but I'm one of those guys that there's two problems with process videos for me. One is I usually have something playing beside me in the studio while I'm working. So it's unless it's a moment where I'm actively making myself take a break for a few moments where I can sit and turn and enjoy it, it's just playing on the side. And I don't want to be do a disservice to the people's videos by not watching what they're talking about or just glancing up every now and then. I really want to look at the process. And so I can't, I can get, like, I've got a number of videos that I've watched of yours and of Jim, but not everybody's everything. So I'm still dipping my foot in water, in the water yet. Frank says, we were doing it together, but I stepped aside. Jeez. Frankly. Hey, it's Barbara. Hi, Barbara. Barbara, what are you working on? That's what we're all sharing with each other right now. This is what I was putting up for Frankly. Yeah. Welcome aboard. Okay, so I started that. So yeah, I'm really trying to. I'm definitely going to watch all those though. For right off the hop though, TD, I'm definitely going to watch all those because it just it's so much so. I dreamt about it last night. As crazy as that sounds, was it last night or was it Wednesday? I think it was Wednesday night. I dreamt about it. Just sitting in my studio with all these books opened around me with just collaging in all of them. And it was just like, in the dream, my missus looked at me like I was completely bonkers. Yeah. Sometimes I miss the blatantly obvious, frankly. Dee does collaging. I knew Dee did collaging, but I didn't know about that. Look up abandoned books. I will do that. Indeedly do. Well, I'll definitely be watching a bunch. Dee. But look up abandoned books. I'm going to definitely do that. I'm going to write a note, abandoned. Dee. All right. It's Paul Pate, the man that bit the magic. Paul Pate. Well, I don't know it's necessarily a celebration. I really wanted to say how much I appreciated everybody coming and hanging out, and I hope you're having fun. So what I'm doing at this point is I'm just doing a rough little FDR scribbly doodle here. And the idea is that I'm going to use this as sort of a rough template of the images that I'm going to collate together for the suggestion for today, top of the screen. And I'm going to, because I'm doing the shadowy face for this character, is in order to break it down as generic white guy. Some people look at it and maybe go, oh, I know who that is. But there's nothing to be helped for that. So, but the idea is more so to just use him as a rough example. So, and then we can start, putting refugee images and weaponry images and guerrilla fighters and yeah, lots of fun. Hey, Raul's joined us. Hi, Raul. How are you? Welcome aboard. What have I missed? Everybody knows that. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep up. Everybody knows the internet is rife with toxic environments. I want to thank you for setting a really good tone here. Good people on your streams. Oh, that's really nice of you, Jim. That's really fantastic. I appreciate that. Oh, and thank you as well, Paul. That's nice. Hi, Raul. Everybody's telling each other what everybody's working on. We got lots of cool things happening with people. Please, people that have joined us, feel free to let everybody know what you're doing as well. I'm going to stick it up on the screen and encourage everybody to go and check out, of course, what all these maniacs are cooking up in their own kitchens. But and that's very nice of you, Penny. Thank you so much. What it is. Oh, so nice. You guys are all really nice. I appreciate that, DD. And there we go, frankly. Back on track. Raul, Barbara, Paul, do you want to let everybody know, or if you're comfortable with that, if I'm putting you on the spot, well, feel free to inform people what you're doing. Barbara says, frankly, that her mom used to put lemon in her coffee. Isn't that funny? Tomorrow morning, Paul Pate's going to go live using syrup. I don't know if frankly you'll be able to handle that, Paul. We are taking a chill weekend. I spent the whole day cleaning specifically so that we could just have a chill weekend. We don't have any of our Saturday things to do. But I smell like lemon pledge. All right, so getting this rough silhouette of this character's face together. Sorry it's taking so long. But that'll be the first step in our little process here of assembling these different images together for the suggestion that's at the top of the screen. Where are we? Sorry, I'm trying to keep up. Barbara, no arting here. I'm sorry I missed that, Barbara. I'm doing spring cleaning, and please don't envy my jet set lifestyle. I frankly has never tried spring cleaning. I did that the most of the day today to do, or you know what I mean. Most of my day today was cleaning. So I'm a dirty man. Paul is on break from his day job. Page 19, Paul. Page 19 already, sir. How fantastic is that? Especially in light of, and I hope you don't mind me bringing this up, Paul, especially in light of the fact that you said so much time was invested in doing your animation, and you felt like it was a really prolonged progress. You're flying through these pages, and it's a great animation. I can't wait to see this book. So, U-Haul stopped at a train crossing. You know all about U-Hauls with the kids. Sorting Persian for a set period of time, and then Cretan for a set period of time. That's the way to do it. That's how you do it. I break my day up like that. Frankly, and his maple syrup, still on that maple syrup. Behave yourself, Frankly. Not too much of that stuff. Oh, you kids hopped up on maple syrup. Why, when I was your age, things were a lot different for ladies like me. Okay, so all right, so this is halfway there. Yeah. There we go, Barbara. Barbara says she's a Canadian. Maple syrup is big here. I am definitely behind on my mailings, but I've got things to mail to people this weekend. And I've got some maple things I'm going to try to sneak through the mail. Don't tell the president. Paul Pates, back to the mines. Have a splendid weekend. Hey, Paul, look forward to seeing if you come on, buddy. Nice to see you, sir. Thank you very much for what you said. That was very nice of you. Now, when I say, what are you working on? It doesn't mean specifically what you're doing. It doesn't have to mean what you're up to at the very moment. It's kind of because the working process is it's ongoing for all of us, and I don't know anybody that can just sit and work all the time. Oh, that's fun, Frank. That's fun, frankly. We have a festival here. It's called Festival de Voyageur. You pour maple syrup on the ice, and then you roll it up with a popsicle stick and eat it like a sucker. Are you in the prairies, Barbara? I'm in Ontario. Are you in the prairies? That sounds like a prairie thing. Manitoba. There we go. Frank posted Instagram a box of Tim Hortons J-Cups, tagged them, and the store, and they both responded. Isn't that? Stop posting us. That's cool, frankly. Fellow Canadian in the house. It's wonderful, that we're able to engage like this, with us being also distant from one another, really. It just, it's a nice affordance of communication, and especially for weirdo creative types that spend X amount of their time isolated in their working space or inside their heads, I wonder if that's a carryover, Barbara, if you're in Manitoba, is that because that largely started as a French trapper thing, and Manitoba, I don't know if our American neighbors are aware of this. There is a large part of our Canadian history we talk about is Métis in Manitoba region, or French Canadian trappers and Canadian Aboriginals, and have created their own breakaway part of our population. that don't get enough mention, I don't think, but excellent. Oh yeah. I don't know if they have this. If anybody in the States can specifically correct me, I'd be interested in that. But there are so many Métis that were in the Manitoba region that it's a distinct part of Canadian population. So, who knew? Hey, who knew? Canada, white people and Aboriginals could get along. I think it's easy to say that it was probably the French more than the English. Not the best history with the English ones. Okay, so now the other part of this is, and I'm just going to, because this is such a basic part of this, I'm just going to, I'll fill in all these blanks later, but this is the gist of it. I'm sorry, am I in camera still? What a bozo. Not you guys, me. I'm a bozo. So I'm just going to break down the large areas that'll be filled in. And then this is some of the area that's going to, and the wonderful thing about this with putting it into Photoshop is that I can change this from black to any other color that I want, and fade it in or fade it out of the, well, ostensibly collage imagery. What have we got? I feel like I need a Chris art lesson, keeping consistency in character profiles compared to the front view. Did you witness? I talked about this really briefly the other day, Jim. Were you there for that? I can do a really quick 30-second thing right now if that'll help. Because that's a tricky thing for all of us. When it comes to actually executing a page, by the way, that's something I'll slow down and think about for a moment to make sure that I try to get people to look like what they look like when I'm in the process of drawing the next panel. But that could be a really frustrating thing. Sometimes just step back from it for a second. Okay, so I'm not going to do the entirety of his personage here, but there's and I'm not even going to probably utilize any of this part down here. Okay, I'll do it really quick for you, Jim. If you've got, let's do the egg. Okay, now the egg is, if you've got a face that's an egg, or whatever shape it is, or whatever, however, because you have a very unique and individual style. So when you draw your forward image, and I'm just going to use the egg as a simplistic example. So you've got the key elements in their face, right? And their ears and where they sit on the face. Now, when you're looking at a side view, and you're looking at top down, bottom up, all those different aspects, the turnarounds of the head, think about the same head in whatever your independent style is that you draw that in. And so just reverse it. Draw the same shape as you have in the first one. I didn't finish the egg in, I'm so sorry. So there's your placing of the ears and realizing where they sit. And then you get to think about the elements on the back of the head, like where the hairline is, right? And so what your lines are doing is it's almost like there's secret lines that are moving in between these head shapes. There's secret though, don't tell anybody, lines that are here. So when you're going to do a profile, it's the same thing. You've got your egg. And if this is a sort of thing, and Phil Chandler, if he's here, this is stuff that you get right at the front of animation school, right? When you break down the shape of the head, you're still thinking about, so here the head ends, here's your egg, the ending of your egg, and so you've got your neckline. But the difference with this one is you've got to consider where that neckline starts at the back and where it starts at the front. It's a separation for here from those two, because the front and back views, it's just the same thing. But when you turn it to its side, so what I do is thirds. Generally, faces break down in thirds, right? So, and that thirds means where that neckline is, right? So if you, let's see if I can do this. If I look in the camera, it's hard because I'm a big broad bugger, but if where your neck is here, generally tends to be where the side your temple is, okay? All right? Center of your eye, side of your mouth, other side, side of your eye, side of your nose. There's all these little things, that these matching lines. And once you start falling down that rabbit hole, woo, you're going to get caught in it. So, but we know this for a fact, okay? That if this is where, see, there's the side of your temple, there's the side of your neck. Sorry, not in the camera. There's the side of your temple, there's the side of your neck. Okay? Now, when we turn it to the side view and we break it up into thirds, you can figure that the ear sits on that first third, which is at the top of the neck, which is at the back of your head. So there's your rounded circle part of the back of your head. And when we come forward, knowing that where the magic eyes are, there's where your magic eye is going to be placed. There's where the tip of your nose is going to be placed. There's where the part of your mouth is going to be placed. There's where part of your chin is running. And then it just becomes what the profile is for the character. So the thing you have to consider is how the character's face is shaped, how prominent their nose is, but where you know where the nose ridge is, and you know where the split of the eye is. So you can start to figure out where the shape of the head is. Okay, I hope that helps. And that front of the neck. And then there's this beautiful little piece that I tend to run a 45 degree from purse of the lips, is where your neck is. So I think about that underlying structure in my head whenever I'm drawing the face. And if the nose is big, I push that element along. If the where the goatee is and where it sits on the face, how much the lips push out, or how prominent a mustache is, if it's a big cowboy mustache, or if it's if they've got a receding hairline, where that sits in. Generally, if you top the face out here, there's your hairline. Most people. I hope that helps. Hey, I got claps. That helped. Okay. Yeah. So it's those. That's how you turn a head around. And if you do those for each of your characters, this is what a lot of people do at the start of a project, like a book, or you've seen these breakdown animations for characters, but that's largely because they've got whole crews of people that are all working on different facets of a film. Whereas us independent types, we're doing the whole show on our own. But when you've got a team of people that are working on consistency of your project, right? You've got to have a basic framework. This is how this character looks this way. This is how this character looks this way. This is how this character looks from behind. And then you can pass that on to your various people that are working on those aspects of the character. Frankly, hey, Gary, welcome aboard. Oh, thanks very much, sir. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you. Yeah, I can't appreciate enough people joining in here, taking part. Gary, everybody's talking about what they're doing, what they're working on. It doesn't mean this moment, but what projects they've got in the mix. Or if you're interested in that, please feel free to feel free to tell people. Okay. The rest of the flourishes, one of the things that I like specifically about how everybody works uniquely, how everybody works differently, is that when you come at things from an illustrator standpoint, you're trying to have a consistency of your characterization. But I still stand by, that's all of that, the spit and polish of your imagery If you're coming at it from a fine art perspective, if you're coming at it from a finished image perspective, then your core interest is that. But if you're coming at it from a storytelling perspective, that's always the most important thing. And everybody looking perfectly uniform, and it's always the exact same look, every image of, the exact same consistent shape of head, everything else of characters throughout the rest of it. I let that go a little bit. And it's only because what's the intention? Like what's the core underlying intention of what it is that we're doing? Is that telling a story, or is that doing some fine art images? So here again, when we look at the structure of this guy's face, if we follow that line across to the ear, where the elliptical is on the ear. I'm sorry, I'll catch up on the posts in our conversation in just one sec. That runs across from the center of our eye, right? But you'll find that it also runs right up that third of that head. When we get heavier, there's more sagging and there's more bulbousness in our features. I used to be young and pretty and skinny, but now I'm a big, thick old man, and there's a lot more to my neck now, and there's a lot more to my saggy, baggy old eyes. So we run across from the point of the ear. This is why in this image, I basically say that the shape of the top of the eye ridge and the bottom of the nose is where the ear starts. Okay? Because if you look at this face in the image here, and you look at how I'm trying to quickly throw that down on here, I know that that's the bottom of his ear. Okay, well, let me catch up. I'm so sorry. Hey, look at that news. Gary has 2-ish, counts, pages left of DVSM 1979. Third book. Please check it out. Please check out DVSM for Gary's work. It's fantastic. That is some great news. Gary's working on Frank Lee's Last Nerve. That's his evening weekend project. Gary never gives me art advice. He says I have to learn it from the streets like he did. East side! Doo-doo! Yeah. Can you tell me how to get there? Oh, Frank has. He learned it from Sesame Street. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Beautiful night for a neighbor. I have been doing this sneaky little thing, Barbara, and you might catch me today if I unconsciously do it today. I'll end streams by saying, and I'll come back when the day is new. I have more ideas for you. If anybody knows what that is and wants to finish it, I so influenced by watching that as a young person and as an adult. I would watch it with my own kids. Touche. Oh, look out. Huh? Gauntlet thrown. There's 2 are on fire now. It's kind of fun. I gotta admit, I like that a lot about this community of people that we're all getting to know one another online. Is that there's a lot of jesting with each other. It's really good. Jim says, I am here in the Rocky theme for Gary finishing his book. I'm standing at the top of a staircase going, yeah, it's a good job. That's what I'm doing. I get carried away with the Rocky business. Da-da-da. Actually, I'm standing at the top of those stairs going, just... That's what I would be doing in that movie. I would not be up there jumping around, I could be honest. But I think that's kind of the point of the boxing movie, is that he's physically fit. So, all right. So there is the rough breakdown of our guy. Really loosely thrown, but there it is. So, like I say, Photoshop is going to let me take this and convert the values of it. Is to convert this into like a red or an orange or whatever it is, and push it in and out of that image as we bring those different elements together for conflict. That's the whole thing I'm doing with this face divided is conflict. So Gary says, my goal is to have the last page finished by the end of the month. So good, think good thoughts. That gets a star. And so does Frank Lee's You Can Do It, Gary, gets a star. That's awesome. That's awesome news, Gary. That's you've set yourself that timetable and you're doing it. I tend to be a firm proponent of just do it as you can do it and don't beat yourself up. Some people need timetables and due dates. I say this, it's just a complete pile of baloney. Let's be honest. Because I set myself a ridiculous timetable every day, right? And I am just always pushing. But don't take that example because Christopher is woohoo. He's tall. He don't get much oxygen up there. Penny says, bye. Hope to see you soon. Thanks very much for hanging out, Penny. It was super nice of you. All right. So just round out this felon's old noggin. Nag-eyed. And so I'll fill in these larger black areas as but I want to get right into some of the other stuff that I want to put together. Now, with this character, his head is kind of like a template for assembling different facets of this image together. Gary says, I'm going to be loose on how quickly it gets printed. I'm going to take at least a couple of weeks in April to fine tune and get it just right. Of course. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Your timetable. Well, when is a book going to be done? When it's done, right? It's always a challenge, and I'm sure that anybody here that's the creative bent of their own, I think is pretty much most people here. I think it's all of us, to be honest. But it's always a thing. Like, so what are you working on? Oh, I'm doing this. When's that going to be done? So fast upon, I'm still doing this thing, or I'm working on this thing that they already know you've said before that you're working on. I find that people are so fast on the draw with, when are you going to be finished that? Weren't you still doing that a while ago? They don't know. They just don't know. They don't know the time that it takes, or they don't know. In some cases, there's rudeness there, but honestly, for the most part, I think that most people just don't get it. And that's that. Gary, plug your ears. That's my whole basis for the AI argument. People don't know. They don't know. They simply don't know that what it takes to make images, and that's the unfortunate reality of that whole argument about what upset and turmoil is it going to cause in any visual industries, because the majority of people have no clue what level of investiture comes in for these collagers and maple drinkers and all these different artsy fartsy types. And oh my gosh. And it's almost like saying, going into somebody this is really putting us on a pedestal, but it's like going into a nuclear reactor, and so what are you working on? What do you do over here? And it's a person standing at a console with all those buttons. And as much as they'll try to explain what those buttons are to us, there is some degree of us there's at some point in that explanation where we'll be like, so all these ones generally do this, right? That's about as close as we're really going to come to a comprehension of what the guy at the nuclear generator plant does. Well, I like this. This is cool looking. That's a cool console. There's lots of neat lights. The best person for this, and I'm not saying this in any sort of negative way whatsoever. I really like how my father-in-law associates what I do. And that's what the page that I did about the balloon, the Chinese balloon, right, is from my father-in-law. Hey, you're doing the drawings, the comics there? Yeah, it's going really well. All right. That's it. We're good. He gets it. That's good. Yeah, people give that one-page suggestion ideas, and I try to do those. You know what you ought to do? Do a balloon. Yeah. So I like that. I like that a lot. I like the free just simplicity of it. He has no clue why I'm doing whatever I'm doing and stuff like that. But at the same time, he gets it. He built all the AI robots too. It's a monster. Okay, so this is all just random war stuff, and I've got a shelf of books about World War II because it's something in reference to my father-in-law that we both like reading together. But as much as these photos represent real people in our lifetimes, many of these people being still alive, I'm not specifically drawing these people as I'm drawing a crowd image. I'm not, specifically using these people's faces and these personages and representing them in any way. But crowd shots are easy. Crowd shots are, you get a general consensus of people and you just start throwing them down on paper. So that's, I don't have any problem with using stuff like that as source imagery. Barbara says, Buffy the Vampire just attacked my device. Must be that predicted snowstorm. Yeah, it's here. It's London is in the midst of it. We've been in the midst of it all day. Yep, that's exactly it. It's not taking out the sneakers. It's switching out to his it's the ending song on his shows. Barbara is it's the thing he says when he says goodbye and he switches back into his street shoes and or street sneakers from his household sneakers or slippers. That's Mr. Rogers. I don't know how many people in the States. I don't know how many of you. I would think all of you had been exposed at some point to Fred Rogers. But yeah, that guy was an absolute grace the way he talked and behaved in his show. If it wasn't for Fred Rogers, I'd be a serial killer. I don't know. So again, when I'm quick sketching like this, I've just picked up the ballpoint, and there's no specific. I have to use ballpoint at this point in putting together an image, but there are things. Dee Dee says that they had Mr. Rogers there, and I'm so happy to hear that. He really did have an interesting real life. He really did. What an interesting take on a calling is that where some people would look at their calling and go left, he went the opposite direction. What are they doing on television with the kids? So I'm just picking random faces out of this audience of people, these people celebrants that are all cheering for the day's good positive news about liberation for them, I think. But I'm going to change the structure of their faces because everybody here is smiling, because it's a celebratory image. But what, in our understanding of how the structure of the face works, happy, cheeks up, right? Mouth pursed, mouth openly, spaced aside, a little dimpling going on in some faces, right? And you got all of that exposed upper teeth. And then frowning, those muscles do the exact opposite. So it's that sullenness in the face that comes across as a flattening of the cheeks, and that drooping of the sides of the mouth, and the drooping of the muscles that build up your cheeks along the sides of the nose, and that furrowing in here that happens in our mouths just below them. So that's what my brain does when I'm drawing faces, and I'll take a picture of somebody smiling and make them sad. Why not find a picture of a sad person, Chris? Because it's complicated. Yeah. Indeedly do. Mr. Rogers is a saint. I saw, we went and saw the documentary of him in a repertory theater that we have in the city here. And there's this real character standing outside the movie theater, pacing back and forth at the window as he's waiting for the next film to start. But he doesn't want to come in and disrupt people, except he's pacing back and forth and back and forth. So the light that projects through that window is now a shadow bumping back and forth. And it's actually, you can see it in the last so many rows of the theater. And I know him. He's an interesting duck. And I've known him in the city for years here. And he's got a big heart. And he is in the spectrum. And so his social understanding isn't necessarily there. But there's a part of me that's like, would you just sit down, right, in my head? But as you're watching a documentary about Fred Rogers, and this flashing is going on behind you, you cannot help, and I would hard press people, you cannot help but have more understanding than you normally would have had because of what Fred Rogers is exemplifying on the screen. What do we got? You could do Alex Murdaugh in the crowd. Where's Waldo? we could indeed. We could place this. If am I not mistaken? This is this character that has done terrible things to this family and tried to say it wasn't me. Is that who that? Because I think that's the Murdaugh guy. He's a bit of he's one of those ding dongs. It's sad that stuff like that, but yeah, put him in a crowd. There he is. We caught him, the bozo. I really like when other pieces of literature. Thank you, Barbara. I really like when other pieces of literature take characters, and in this context, I'm referring to Where's Waldo. And they put them into their contextual reality. They put these other characters into their envisioned world, right? And so with characters like Where's Waldo, he has been all kinds of... I remember there's one book where he's described as ostensibly a time and space traveling alien that's just here to witness humanity. And so he keeps popping up in places, and there's a great deal of people in the world today that are trying to, gather up all of his appearances and trying to find out who and what this is. And yet we as the reader, it's disclosed to us what he is. And he's here basically reviewing mankind for an alien invasion, and which is in the context of that book. And in the context of us online, I was working on a job for somebody. I was doing an illustration of a piece for this thing called SCP. It's an online sharing platform of stories. I don't know how it works. Let's be honest, it's me. Where people write narratives using this framework of the Secure, Contain, Protect SCP organization. And so I was illustrating a story for that, for a book that was being published of it. And it fell apart. So I had this material. I still have this material in a folder that'll pop up on my screen as I'm going through all these folders to try to find the thing I'm working on now. But Waldo and this SCP universe exists as an SCP that needs this is what they call these strange supernatural or super science things. he exists in that world as a killer. People, you've always got to pay attention to where he might be, because if he finds you, you're in trouble. And anybody that witnesses him gets contorted into him. So it's one of those things where it's like, that's a negative version or negative view of a character. It's kind of similar in that adaptation of real world individuals, or Family Guy free associates all these real world situations, or these real pop characters or idioms. The facts of life, is referred to in Family Guy and things like that. So I'm sure they've got Where's Waldo in there. I don't know. I don't get, I don't have whatever service the Family Guy is on, but there's just all these fantastic ways that ideas and stuff cross over. Because I don't really have a representative character of this is, other than a stream of conceit in this guy, it's basically me. That's why the book's called Conceited, and it's a stream of consciousness book. Aside from that, I don't really have an identifiable, this is Chris's character like Gary does. Gary has his DVSM guys, and Paul has his detective guy, but I don't have that. But I do like the idea of sneaking other people's characters in the stories and the books. So I just don't, it's unfortunate because I don't know what they'd use of mine for that. Other than I draw myself as a rabbit. My superhero version of myself that I've put into some one-page comics is literally me as a 6'6" rabbit with a baseball bat. That's my superhero, which is clearly your disenfranchised anti-hero of the 90s, right? Barbara says, interesting about Waldo as an alien. I read somewhere aliens haven't contacted Earth because there's no sign of intelligence here. Oh, I love that. I was on listening to a podcast of a guy who talks about these different, the Montauk experiments, or Bigfoot, 411 missing Bigfoot kidnappings in national parks. And he does all these little exploration essays into those video essays. And this person randomly just typed in the comments, panspermia. And this expresses an idea that life came to Earth because of an asteroid hitting the Earth, and whatever chemical processes or DNA or genetic information that was on said asteroid from wherever it came from is what created the basic building blocks of cells, so that life could come together in the chemical stool of the early period of Earth's development. But it's just so random for a guy to just type panspermia, unless people have a larger understanding, a larger comprehension of that. It's just an awkward, thing to just sort of blurt out a single word like that. And there's this part of me that I'm far more interested in the character of the guy than the thing he said at this point, because I just am visualizing the story of this character as he's taking part in this conversation. And it's not like somebody, what is this called? What's that called? As somebody in the chat will go and just type it in, because, oh yeah, I remember that. You just type it in. But I just picture this fella last night typing panspermia and crossing his arms like, yeah. For some reason that's going in the Rolodex here in the old noggin. I'm going to put that in the comic page one day. Use that guy in my head, the image that I've generated of this person who's typed this thing. He's going into a comic at some point. He's going to be a character that types whatever thing he's stated and then rests back with his arms. Yeah, buddy. You know what I'm talking about. Some of these guys aren't going to get it, I love that. And I love trying to incorporate things like that in there. So when it comes to like, signs of intelligent life, Barbara, you're not wrong. We're just doing the best we can. We've made some development on we've made some progression here on the kinds of sticks that these monkeys are using as tools. But I love to do this, by the way, and I know this infuriates people, and I know this makes people think I'm a ding dong. My first studio, I had a shingle hanging outside. You know what a shingle is? It's a sign that swings on a. You have a little sign hanger that juts out of the side of your building, so people that walk by the sidewalk underneath, there's these little signs hanging up above, and they used to be called shingles for bars in Britain. And Europe had different terms for these things, but in Britain at one point they were called street shingles. So I had one that said the name of my studio on it, and I just, because I wanted to sort of say declaratively, here I am, and I'm making things up there on the second floor. And so I called it, because of this running series of jokes about the fact that I'm the size of a gorilla, we called it Decibel Monkey Heaven. I know gorillas are apes. I know that for a fact. It's completely fine. I don't think gorillas are monkeys. But I've always referenced monkeys as apes purposely. It's just this. In my head, it's a funny thing. But I can't tell you how many people I've annoyed and how many people I've had correct me over the years about it. You know that monkeys are apes aren't monkeys, right? You know that? That's not real, buddy. You got it wrong there. You're uninformed. And then they start telling me about, apes are ones without tails, blah, 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 blah. But it's funny ideas and how they come across people. I completely agree with Barbara's statement. There's not a lot of intelligent life down here on the old dust bowl of these talking monkeys. See, I did it there. I think that, especially when you're looking at Carl Sagan's assessment of, and I'm sorry if I'm just flying off on a handle and just rambling. Anybody who thinks that, Chris, you're crazy, just let me know. Carl Sagan used to talk about that, about we maybe don't want to meet aliens. Maybe we don't. Waldo is an alien, or any of these specific pop characters that are, represented in one way in one piece of media, and somebody else makes it a creepy alien, creepy serial killer, whatever it is. Maybe we don't want to meet intelligent life from someplace else, because the investment of resources that it might take to get here, that might be bad news for us if they have to replenish those resources here, because we don't have any idea how they would do that in the first place. It's the same thing as going to a family reunion and bumping into your cousin Larry, right? Everybody has cousin Larry that is this guy at dinner. Actually, what you're referring to is this, because he knows, right? That's what my impression of aliens are, is space know-it-alls. See, and that's in the Rolodex of ideas that I try to hold on to in my noggin, or I put in one of my sketchbooks, my random crazy sketchbooks that I was showing earlier for the idea generation for this page. Is one of these notions that if we do meet aliens, they're just going to annoy us all because they're just know-it-all goobers. Hey, Philip Chandler's joined us. Hey, Philip. How you doing, sir? Philip, what are you working on right now? Everybody's been kind of sharing that with each other. If you scan back through earlier part of the stream, you'll see all the different things people are doing. So it sort of stands, by the way, for everybody that's here, in case that you weren't here when I expressed this earlier. These one-page comic things that I do from other people suggesting whatever random ideas, 1 or 2 sentences, everyone's welcome to do that. Everyone's welcome to suggest an idea. The only thing I tend to stay away from is licensed characters. I'm not going to really do licensed characters because that's somebody's thing. I'm going to do a spin on it or a different direction of it. I wouldn't do Superman. I'd do Stupid Man, but you're welcome to suggest any old ideas that are in the brain pan there that you think might, one or two sentences. What do you think an idea might be for a story? Dee Dee's last one was, as an example, a fish on a pizza. that was the last one. Barbara says, I wonder if Cornelius, Dr. Zaius, or Dr. Zira are listening to this discussion of apes or monkeys. I, special effects artist in the city here, I have in my house, I have the face assembly for me to be made up as an ape from Planet of the Apes. And it was applied to my face, and I was dressed as an ape, and I wore overalls and traveled in a sort of reduced position where my shoulders are pulled forward, and I'd walk around and I could talk and my face could move. You damn dirty humans, And I walked around for this convention that we had in London dressed as that, and with the hair on my head and the whole deal, not really telling people who I was, but trying to hide my height. So I was only about 6 feet tall because of the crouching and the moving around, but it worked because, I'm a broad bugger. So, yeah, I think there's an actor. His name is, he's a comedian and an actor. And I'm sorry, his name escapes me at the moment. I'll remember at 11:30 tonight. Don't worry. I sit up and shout it out, and no one around me will, what are you talking about? Dana Gould. Hey, we got it. Dana Gould. He does a show as Dr. Zaius, and he has all these contemporary guests on where he interviews them. But all of his references are in the 70s, and all of his references are of celebrities from that time period. So when he'll be talking to whoever it is, let's say Bradley Pitt, and he says, so Brad Pitt, I understand you're working on a new film. Are you familiar with Chuck Heston's work? It's just like, it's brilliant stuff. If you haven't seen that, Barbara, please go look at it. It's really, really funny. Philip is working on a bunch of roughs for Star Tales, taking a food break. I like the idea of food break. It's the only thing I'm going to call my meals from now on. Food break. No longer are we confounded with the separations of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From now on, it's only food breaks, folks. That's it. I love that. That gets a star. But Phil says, hi, everybody. Hello, all. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, check it out. It's absolutely brilliant. And if you're familiar with Dr. Zaius's, well, of course, I'm a scientist myself. He's so on the button, but it's so super cool. And if anybody else hasn't seen that, give yourself just a moment of like a 15-minute clip or something. Don't fall down this rabbit hole and keep yourself from doing whatever it is you need to be doing. But, oh my gosh, really funny. I get caught up in little things you want a mental health break for a moment? There's a couple of things that'll pop in the retinue for me. One is Dana Gould's Dr. Zaius, just quick clips of him. And that's fuel for me for hours. Another person is a comedian named Drennan Davis that is on Instagram. I don't know if he's on YouTube or anything like that because I'm not, again, falling into the rabbit hole. But it's cat videos, folks. It's, I'm that guy now. And but the best part of it is he has 4 cats. Philip, it's sort of an early lunch, late dinner today. No, Philip, it isn't. It's a food break. It's a food break. You don't have to worry about it being early lunch or late dinner for yourself. It's just food break time. I love that so much, Phil. I'm not making fun of it. I really do love food break. Look up Drennan Davis. Drennan Davis, if you have a moment. I'll write his name down. Dana Gould is the Dr. Zaius. And if anybody needs a spelling of that, you can read my chicken scratch. There you go. And Drennan Davis, he has 4 cats. And he's on Instagram. I think it's at Drennan Davis. He's a stand-up comedian, and his comedic work is absolutely brilliant. It involves puppets, and he does the voice work of the puppets while there's a person behind a curtain doing the puppets. And there we go. Thankfully, yeah, you're dialed in. There we go. Barbara calls it grazing. This food break, I shall be grazing. that's fantastic, grazing. But Drennan Davis has 4 cats. He has Newt, Toad, and Frog. These are 3 orange tabbies, like the 2 I have, Corbin and Baby. And then he has a black and white, which is a calico, right? He has a black and white cat named Doug. But he does voices for these cats, and the 3 orange cats is a variation on a really scratchy, "Hey, Dad!" right? And then there's an intermediate, "Hey, Dad!" And then there's one that goes, "Hi, Dad!" in like a clear, squeaky voice. But then Doug talks like this. And so he has conversations, full-on conversations with and amongst his cats that are always doing business. And they have suit ties that they wear. And Doug is dressed sometimes. The other 3 cats will pick on Doug and dress him as a lobster because they've adopted him because I want to have children. And, well, you can't have kids. I'm sorry to tell you guys. Also, the fact you're all guys. And like, well, I want to adopt. And who are you going to adopt? Doug. And they have this whole, leave me out of this business. It's so funny. But please look up Drennan Davis. He's a brilliantly funny comedian. 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Well done, Barbara. That's a good one. It's usually Jim that jumps in with the song hits. That's nice. Yeah, that's nice. That's good. You threw that at me. Here I am taking a happy face in the source imagery over here, and we're turning him into a sad face, but we're turning that smile upside down. But if there's an illustrator that so somebody asked me in a direct message the other day, are there other artists that you think that you work like, or people have said you work like? And Bill Sankovich is one person I would suggest as an influence because of his mixed media and his approach and stuff like that. And he's like me. He'll throw bleach over ink and watch it. So if I take, and I don't know if anybody's seen me do this before, but I'll do it now. Give me one sec. I have spritzers in my studio here. And this is an idea that I would encourage for others. Where have I put those? Oh, I think I put them over at my desk so I wouldn't have to get up like I just did. I think I put them in a different spot, my desk area here. But I tried to set them away because I don't want to be using something too much all the time. But I have spritzers here of different products. Okay, and one of which is a bleach, and I have it in my little blue spritzer, so that I can keep track of it as not being the same as my water spritzer, which is clear. But now I don't know how it's going to work on this. I don't know if I've tried it before with this. I forgot the name. Papermate ballpoint pen. But if you spritz this with this little hit of bleach, a little spritz that I just put on that there, and I suggest keeping paper towel nearby. So let's just get this. There we go. Got this guy cooking. So I've just done a spray of bleach over the ballpoint image that I'm drawing, and I'm going to leave it for a second, and I can smell it, right? You can hear it. Boy, wrong sense, Chris. So you can start to see how there's a little bit of interruption in the pen. So it's starting to fade out little areas in a really light way. This is a really good light fastness, the Papermates, but you can see how there's a yellowing now and a purpling that's appearing in this ink. Now, different pens have different degrees of maintaining their line. Let me grab one of my drawers full of pens, and let's find a different guy, a different ballpoint. This is No Name, and we'll use these guys. I think are pretty good for it. But I've just grabbed a few different ballpoints that we're going to try. And if you, what are we at? 135. So as you're working images together, and as you're putting some drawings of characters down, being aware, of course, and I've said this to people before, that as you're using different pens, and this isn't going to matter because I'm just going to flatten all this down into a base black color or a base tonal value, and then I'll scan that into the computer, and then I could take this layer and I can do different things to it. I can basically rip it and turn it into like a ping layer, or a layer where there's no more white paper existing. It's just the line content itself. I can then change that line content into whatever I want it to be, right? Okay, so I'm drawing some of these physical elements now into this image here. And let's see how this pen fares. Barbara says my boss, which is her, is on her case. Break is over. Get back to cleaning. There you go. That's how you get it done. Spring is actually coming to my city. We have to deal with all this debris. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out, Barbara. It was really super cool of you. And I appreciate very much you being one of these people that are following me now. So I appreciate you coming out and hanging out, and I appreciate you being one of the folks that helps me get to 100. So I've sprayed this. We'll see what the light fastness is for this pen. Have a great day, though, Barbara. Have a great weekend. Dee Dee says later on as well. So I'm not sure how that is going to hold on. A lot of these ballpoints now, it's a hit or a miss. It's either they're 100% great or they're 100% bad. It's like when you take markers, any markers that you use at all, if you're doing the same thing, if you're breaking down images, and I don't know if I can draw over an already bleached area here with it holding on at all, but I'll draw a guy here. This is a very thin line, and 01. And so as I'm putting this fella's face into the image here and behind this lady, and I want him to be in our image as well, try to get him scale-wise somewhat in relation to the others in front. The smaller the heads get, the farther back they go. And I'm just breaking this down to simple line. And I don't have to worry about this guy smiling, I'm sorry, because his face looks like one of concern anyhow. What are you taking pictures for? I don't know what this guy's attitude is on this day. All these people are at my place. Why are you all taking my stuff? Get out of my yard. Who knows what he's thinking? So as I'm throwing this image in anyways, that I've just quickly thrown on here, when you take other mark making tools like a marker and you hit it, and I learned this, by the way, from this guy I referred to earlier, Bill Sankovich. So when I hit with the bleach, maybe my bleach isn't activating anymore. Maybe that's what's going on. But as I sprayed this over, it should fracture. It should, where the bleach is, should take the ink right out of there, should take the color out of there. I know it for sure does that if I use something. These are the worst for that, by the way, the cheap generic markers that you'll buy at your dollar stores, your chain store, your Walmarts. If you draw in the same area. Like if you put, okay, so I'll lay this character in here really fast. And the tightness of your lines with these suckers is really about how lightly you can press down, how lightly you can keep yourself above the paper for you to get a finer line in your control, because the head is so thick and it's so soft that it's so pliable to get these nice thick volumes on there. But honestly, if you can come at it very softly, you'll get some a little more control, a little more suggestion of different lines in here. So anyway, so I'm putting this down. This is the same image as I've drawn up above. But as soon as and I'm drawing over top of pre-existing bleach, by the way. So it is doing a little bit of softening a line on there. You can scrub some of those cheap markers on a piece of plastic and use a water brush to make them like watercolors. Is that right? When you say on a piece of plastic, are you talking about just a piece of acetate? Like I found a really old sheet of acetate where I had drawn on an overhead projector for people. So if you scrub on this, and you say, I can see that. I can see how it separates. And because it becomes like a watercolor application. And that softening of the edges based on your pressure. That's awesome, Dee Dee. That's fantastic. Pick them up with a water brush. With water brush, and they pick up with a water brush. That's now, you know that I'm sure people know this. When you lay marker down on acetate, and then you flip that acetate over, and you burnish that watermark onto here, what you actually get is this fantastic texturing in your marks. I'm not sure if anybody else has ever tried that, but it gives you this really great, and depending on where your pressure is applied, I have fingernails now because Chris stopped biting his fingers, everybody. Anyways, it's exciting to me. It doesn't matter to others. But actually, all the marker disappears off the plastic, by the way, as well, because it really does just transfer right off of here and onto the surface of the paper. So you can get this absolutely fantastic friscolated value. It's almost like it's a spattering, but it's a highly controlled one. And if you've got fingernails, which is why I brought mine up, you can take this, okay, lay out this value on here. And as you apply this, if you use your fingernails, which I can do now because I have some, you can do different things in the application. Something I've never tried because I've never had nails. But I could see a little bit of it. Little bit of this sort of a texturing in there. I love stuff like that. I love anything that breaks up and alters the course and the direction of the mark making as you would initially put it down. So let's try this guy. Okay, so we've got this marker, this cheap, inexpensive dollar store, maybe Walmart marker, but it'd be the most inexpensive markers on the shelf at Walmart. I'll buy these on purpose as other people go, well, have you thought about longevity for your materials? You can seal anything today. That doesn't matter anymore. And the sort of art snobs that talk about the highest quality materials and everything else is less. It's fun to try all kinds of cool different levels of materials, different mark making materials like watercolors and pencils and pencil crayons and markers and pens. But the hard, fast rule of that quality of mark making material is the only thing I use, it doesn't necessarily matter anymore. Dee Dee, you've got like, I don't know how many sets of pencil crayons, because like me, I think you've also got a problem of when you go to an art supply store, you got to take something with you. So let's be honest, that's the problem I got. Dee Dee calls it, if you put inks on plastic and smack and drag the paper over it. You call it smacking a dragon? Oh, that's brilliant. I'm going to put that up for anybody that wants to make a note of this. Use the plastic like a palette. Put inks on the plastic, smack and drag paper over it. We used to call that, this is, I'm boring, you're fun. They call it smacking a dragon. We called it marbling. Maybe that's us boring Canadians. Barbara's left, so she can't back me up. Philip, you're still here. You're Canadian. We called it marbling. You could do marbling techniques where you take, if you take lines and you move these different lines and colors through a paper, and you come in, and let me see if I can find another one. Here's another one. And I say I have to find another one. I'm gonna adjust the camera. Nobody have a seizure on me. But right here to the side of my desk, just a second. Hold on a second. I gotta set that back. I tipped over my unit, and I got a pop on my desk. So here beside my drawing area, this is a couple of pens and mark making tools that I have directly beside me. But we called this marbling, and we got so ridiculous with it at the high school I went, and Philip went to DLR, that we would take it. Sorry for all the adjustment and shifting around the camera, folks. We would take a reservoir of water, and in said reservoir of water, we would put all kinds of paint and stuff like that. And it was the same thing where you sort of drop the paper over it and it would pick up all of that material. But this is kind of reminiscent of that, which is why I brought it up. But you're right, though, it isn't the same. So if I take all of this marker and I apply it on here and then I smack the dragon, I'm going to be honest, I've never done this before. This is killing it for me. I'm loving it. This is something that's going in my toolbox, folks. Oh, I like it so much. And this is called Smacking the Dragon. TM, Didi, and friends. Trademark them, not me. Let's go back here. Let's go back, because this is super cool stuff. And if people can want to make some notes on this, do it. Because this is where it counts, is where artists share processes. And I'm completely off the track on what I'm actually drawing for this page project of close up on my face, divided like a map with each section listed as their own country. Still working on that, still doing it. But that is literally me taking the Diet Pepsi, caffeine-free Diet Pepsi, because big old D1 here, and picking that up with the plastic and then sticking it on the drawing. Here's me sopping up the rest of it and putting it down into our image and softening up the ink, because I'll use anything, folks. I'll clean up a mess and you put it in whatever I'm working on. I am a lunatic for that. So, but anyways, this is the biggest and most important thing to me that fills my heart and soul about all of us as creative types, taking these different processes that we work with and sharing them with one another like this, openly in camera. I don't care how good people are at the end of the day, because it's this moment right here. It's the sharing and the discourse and the communication between us as creatives and saying, hey, I threw this mud at the wall and it stuck. You should try this mud. What you do with it, because pardon me for eating, blood sugar's getting low, or getting lower, and I can feel that in my body, so I know when I got to have a snack. So I'm going to crunch for a moment. I apologize. I don't care how good people are creatively. I don't care what exactly I call it the spit and polish, and then some people I hope don't find that offensive, but I don't care specifically what the expression of that different people use is. That's not to say that I don't love what they do. I do love what they do. I don't care what their specific bent is, though, because the technique that they're going to use there, when they give it to another guy, like let's talk about the differences between what Didi does and what she does is great, and Philip, what you do and what you do is great. But Dee Dee, you sharing some of your techniques with Philip changes things in a whole new direction for when another artist comes across the skill sets and techniques that somebody else has. We're all going to use it and do our own thing with it. Yeah, I would love to see it sometime, Dee Dee. I'm going to have to, if the next time you put it out, or I'm going to look for the video that you have, if you've probably already done it on. Take a paintbrush to those markers, and that's what you're referring to. Or are you referring to water brush markers? Like if I'm sure that, if I do, what is this one? I've got a blender out. Good job, Chris. Okay, here we go. So here's a water brush marker. And of course that's going to carry over too, isn't it? Wow, but it friscolates the value even more. Nerdy art terms on the screen. It friscolates it even more. And what that refers to, for those not in the know of my dorky terms, is it makes it more like bad photocopies, right? That broken up image, the broken up ink. Dee Dee says, pick up the marker ink with a brush, use it as paint. Yes, indeedly do. I do that as well. The Smack Dragon's a different technique. Smack Dragon is a different technique. It has to be done with drops of ink, hence the smack. The other, with markers, is different. That is the cool way to spell markers. Ack. Dee Dee, I have to ask, do you go ack when you try to say something to Siri or when you're typing and you make a mistake in your typing? Do you literally type ack like when you do that? Because that's a silly thing I do and nobody knows what the heck I'm talking about. And when I'm texting the kids or Lori, I'll go I go right? Or ugh, UGH, or URRGH. That's erg. So that's funny as heck. I'm trying to tell you two different techniques. I'm picking up on that. Nothing like what I'm doing. I like what you did, but it isn't what you're talking about. Good food break, Philip. Thank you for the insert. You're getting stars, kid. All right. You're going to stream your process again soon. Your process again soon, Philip. Okay, I'm trying to keep up. Plastic, any marker, scrub some down, pick it up with a water paintbrush. The iPad's making your typos, but you don't actually say that out loud. Okay, I do. I'm a goof, or you don't actually type that. I do. I'm a goofball. Okay, so we're going to do this. I'm going to open this guy up a little bit, the bristles. I don't know if anybody else does this. I'm a weirdo artsy fartsy type. Dipping my brush in some water, which is not clear, to be honest. Because I was using it for painting last night, so it has it does have a white creamy value inside there, but that's okay. We're just getting a wet brush. So from my understanding of what Dee Dee has said, I have put some marker on the plastic, and I am now going into it with my brush and using it as a watercolor. Dee Dee, come on. What a gift that is. Anybody that's here that hasn't tried such things, please make a note of this. Talk about you finding a pigment that you don't have. Talking about a tone that you might not have in your watercolor set. That is a blessing. That's a gift, that is. And look at that. The volume of ink that you get to use as a watercolor is entirely dependent on how much you've got in your markers. What a gift that is. Anybody that's here, boy, oh boy, that's, I got to say, Dee Dee, I've really enjoyed making friends with you, because you and I are very similar in picking up all kinds of things and just trying to share them with whoever we can. I feel like that's what I do, but I feel like that's what you do as well. And boy, oh boy. Now, Smacking the Dragon, Dee Dee is going to show on Monday on her stream. Anybody that's here, You know we got to watch this now. I know I got to watch this now. And this is what I do. This isn't getting sidetracked and not fulfilling what I'm trying to do objectively, by the way, for the page. This is what I do all the time because Dee and I, and I'm going to extend this a little bit. My wife's going to say, Christopher, I'm eating crack. I'm eating granola. So I have a rocket just immediately, so I get change the structure of my blood sugar immediately. This is what I do all the time. Dee, like me, she says she lives techniques. Loves techniques. Thank you, robot typing errors. That's why the robots are never taking us over, folks, because they can't even figure out what we're trying to say to type it. So my understanding of Smack the Dragon, and this is what I'm picking up, and this might be a second divested technique from what Dee is trying to explain to this silly old art making monkey here. But see, now you understand the context of my monkey references. Okay, getting some rockets. Crunchy, crunch, crunch, crunch. Now here's my understanding of Smack the Dragon. Now let me refer back to your notes. Now you put some ink down on a piece of plastic. You put some paper over top of it and whack it. Is that my understanding? Frankly, hey, people have a problem with that. But yeah, it's a funny reference, but okay. All right, so my understanding of Smack the Dragon. Let me see if I got this. Piece of plastic. I'm not concerned if there's all kinds of things that I've doodled on it. But drop some ink from a dropper or a spray. Well, Dee, I happen to have a little bit of that handy. So find some ink, take some out of a dropper, pick a color, Dee. Oh, I haven't tried him yet. Dr. P.H. Martin's, boy, huh? P.H. Balance name is as your first name? Boy, that's interesting. Dr. P.H. Martin. Now, P.H. Martin was always well balanced. That is such a bad joke. Somebody has to give me trouble from that. Okay. So we're going to go into our old eyedropper. Nope. Wrong place. Put it on plastic. Yeah, I didn't pick any up. There we go. I'm having a moment. There we go. We got a drop. So I've got some water spritzer or whatever you have handy. Would be ink. Interesting what happens with ink, wouldn't it? So I'm going to hit it. Yes. You can even add two colors. Hey, slow it down. That'd be marbling, wouldn't it? That'd be more like marbling because you've got the action of the engagement of those two colors together and the tertiary color is going to produce by the mixing of those. But hey, when you got it, do it. Ginny Williams says, put another drop of color in there, fella. I know, Frank. Frankly, two colors? Deep breaths here, folks. We got a secondary color. Now, this is more, there's more solubility in this because this ink is dropped down. More ink. That isn't much. Do it more, she says. She's yelling at me now. I gave her a minute. Give her an inch. She's gonna shout at you for the next 3 miles. Anyways, a little more. All right, now more water. This is just a voice in the ether telling me things to do, and I'm just obeying and doing it. More. Pick up a piece of copy paper. How about cardstock? I've got cardstock I've been using. Is that going to be okay, or does it need to be specifically something like a typeset paper? Because I've got that here in the studio too. Over there in my paper collator. Again, I know I got to do a proper tour of the studio. And now that I've learned that I can do shorts on YouTube, I'm going to be doing one soon. And also going to be doing a review of Gary's book. I got all kinds of fun things I'm going to do. Philip. Hey, it's Franklin. Okay, you guys are catching up. All right. So drag it fast. When you say drag it, move it across. Yes or no? Am I picking up on that correctly? This is Dee Dee using this monkey's hands as an example of a project. while he eats candy rockets. Drag it. Smack it and drag it. Smack it and drag it fast. Listen, when somebody tells you to do that, you do it. Smack it, Frank. All right, here we go. So this is I'm going to use this area of the paper. My phone is now saying, eat the damn rockets. I will. I'm getting to it. Okay. So smacking it down, dragging it across. Oh, that's so fun. I got more to use, and I put some on here too. Let's find another piece of paper to use this. Another piece of the space on the paper. Smack it. Oh, see, no, it's probably not as mixed as I could get it because I probably smacked it too hard. But I still like this. Oh, man, do I like that a lot. Use it up. I already have. I got it all. Yeah, I don't think there's much more of anything here. Now it's just wet plastic. Okay, so I like this a lot. So 2 dollops of ink on a piece of plastic. It's a marker fell, that's okay. 2 dollops of ink I put on a piece of plastic. I've put some water, I sprayed some water over top of that. I placed this piece of paper face down on it and dragged it through. Don't push it down. So the smacking part, I was over vigorous in my smacking. All right, so, again, my apologies for eating while I'm doing this, but I'm going to wrap up in a couple minutes just because I got to sit down properly and have some snacks. But snack break. Isn't that what Phil calls it? What did I write down? Food break. I like this a lot. And the reason that I like this a lot is because this is still wet. Now I could use my dryer on it, and all it's going to do is just stabilize it, right? I'm glad you like that, Dee. Over vigorous in the smacking. Just drag in the ink. Don't you use your hand on it. Well, I got these things, and I can't help it sometimes. But smack break. Thank you, Frank. That's pretty good. That's funny. Yeah, so I'm over vigorous in the smacking. But what I really like about this, even assessing what we've got done, and I'm going to play with this tonight. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to draw, and I'm going to throw ink on things. I'm going to take drawings, and what I'm going to do, what some people call making a mess of them. One person's mess is another person's absolute piece of genius beauty. Just use the paper to drag. I did good. Thank you, Dee. I appreciate that very much. But what's wonderful about stuff like this, and here we go for 100 fantastic followers. You get this big art lesson by our friendly guest, Dee. Dee, again, we got to sit down and do a stream together where the two of us are just making each other crazy with processes. I think that'll happen. But yeah, if you're up for that, I'd love that. What's wonderful about this is look at the soft edging that happens here from the distillation of the value of the ink from water. And yeah, here comes Chris's nerdy headiness in the art. But you can see that softening, that breaking apart. This is what the Hubble Space Telescope is seeing in space, folks. If you can find a way, and I would think it would have to be, like, let's talk about this for a second. If you were to take this process, but rather than using, you would have to use like a liquid paint, like a liquid heavy solid, like a liquid heavy acrylic that is going to hold on to its value. And if you were to do this process of putting that on plastic and then doing this smack drag of it, or what you'd have to do, honestly, is take the plastic and just quickly smear it on the surface of a painting. But you could get over a space an image of black stars, and you do this over top. You could replicate some of that imagery that is taken from the Hubble Space Telescope, right? Yeah. Well, it needs to be ink because the paint doesn't mix. Not in this context, but I'm talking about for a painting, right? It doesn't mix together. Well, I'm talking about those fluids it's almost similar to this. Okay, these crafters paints, you can take these and really, if you put them into a reservoir, similar like this reservoir that I have here of different inks, okay, and you can fill a reservoir with this stuff and put 1 part to 2 parts water. You can actually get it to work like a really heavy solid liquid. But that sounds to me like we're all sharing ideas here. This is good stuff. Uh-oh, Dee's going to show me. She'll show me how to make a nebula, all right. There you go, with a bucket of stars. I love this. This is fantastic. Looks like the surface is Jupiter, Philip says. Yeah, I would agree to that. I would really agree to that. If anybody that's watching this, I don't mind doing streams when we're just doing this, because having people engaging like Dee and some of the other ideas about the people that are throwing ideas out. You're always going to find things that one person does that another person goes, what is wrong with you? That's great. Like even Gary is saying, this is really intriguing. This is the sort of stuff, this process stuff, a lot of the reason that the different approaches I take to drawing a lot of these different pages and these different medium and this different hodgepodging of materials together, that's the thing that fuels my engine, right? That's the sort of stuff that for me is what I really catch into here. And this is the reason why I can't just settle on one thing is because of things like smacking a dragon. It's because of things like bleaching your inks. Drawing, if you Photosuke pens, if you draw on those and you spritz bleach on it, it's just going to make the ink a little purple. But other inks, like cheap, inexpensive fine point markers, or like things like this, the Sharpies, these, a lot of those, you'll see them actually break up kind of like oil on water. And I love that. I love those sort of effects. That's the stuff that really makes me smile. And so that's why ostensibly all these art supplies I have around me is like here's a Canadian reference. It's like Mr. Rogers' tickle trunk. It's like the whole, anything that I can find to try to tell a story with, I'm going to do it. And like I painted on board yesterday just to try it out, so that's a lot of fun. What do we got? Philip has said, this is where digital art can never replicate physical media, unless you can figure out how to bend the machines to do what you want. I like using early Photoshop because I like trying to push that thing to try different stuff. I smacked the dragon with maple syrup and a slice of bread. There's Frankly. Hey, what did I say? Yes, Mr. Dressup had a trickle trunk. Thank you very much, Philip. Thank you very much. And Jim, I'm glad you're digging this. This is good stuff. Okay, 2:00. I'm going to promote this. I hope if you're down with this, 2:00 next Wednesday, Dee Willingham will be on the stream with me. Yes, that's good fun. We are going to make messes. I really look forward to that. We'll talk supplies, we'll talk approaches. Boy, oh boy, it's going to be a kaleidoscopic show of random stuff that we have kicking around our studio spaces. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Just the sheer amount of books that Dee was, I got to get this off. Just the sheer amount of books that Dee was just pulling out of nowhere that she's painted and drawn, and just that was wonderful for me. Yeah, this is good. I'm really excited about that. I'm definitely looking forward to it. But Wednesday, 2:00. Yeah. And if what do we got? Hold on a second. Let me catch up. Jim's digging it. Gary says yes. Dee is laughing because I'm a loony. Gary says, will she bring at least one pic from her rocker chick era? Okay. All right, Gary. Yes. I have a photo. I'll have to pull out a photo as well. When Lori and I met, and Lori and I started dating dating, because I was reading Frank's comment here at the same time as I'm talking. When Lori and I started dating, when I grow a mustache and when I let my chin whiskers grow, they curl, and my mustache curls naturally because I have curly hair. But when Lori and I first met and started dating, I had this mustache and chin whisker. I looked like Green Arrow, the cartoon character of Green Arrow. And my hair used to go down to my mid-chest area. And I cut it short in the last so many years, but now I'm growing it back again. Well, the back part, not the front. So it's fun. It's fun what people used to look like. I don't know if anybody wants to see that or not, but I am excited to see rocker chick Dee Dee. Were you really a rocker chick? That I'd find surprising. I think you just like lots of different music. What do we got? Smacking a Dragon with Dee Dee and Chris. There we go. Bring your own dragon party? Is that what that refers to? Oh, it does. Thank you, Philip. Good stuff. All right. Well, this is awesome. I'm going to spend some time getting really funky with this project that I'm doing here tonight. This is, so on Fridays, the page that I start on Friday, and this is especially empowering from the stuff that Dee Dee's just shared with us. Friday, the page that I start then is the one that I post on Monday. So I don't give myself a time limit. And that's largely because lots of things come up on the weekend and I sit down and whatever I can. Uh-oh. Gary's getting a, what? Oh my goodness. Gary, you lucky bugger. Anyways, I like to spend whatever moments I'm able to come and try to work on the Friday pages, but I always post them for Monday. And I've got a couple pages previously done, so that I post on Saturday and Sunday. So I can tell you without a fact right now, I am going to be a nightmare in my studio space. I might come on live this weekend, but I'm going to be doing all kinds of experiments on this page now. This is just taking the sort of idea of using some filtering and using some blending patterns in Photoshop. I'll do that on another project because I want to learn how to do that. But I'll do that on another thing because I'm going to be doing a lot of smacking of dragons, which is a lot of fun. Maybe I'll even incorporate a dragon in the image. No, it doesn't fit. Yeah, too good. That's too good. Dee Dee is she's going to show pictures of herself on Monday. Oh my goodness. Everybody in Dee Dee's stream is going to be like, what in the world? She's showing pictures because your fella's asked her to? No, boy. That'll be good. We're going to get in some dicey water here. Yeah, that's been fantastically fun, everybody. I'm going to have to get wrapping up here because I got to start my spaghetti sauce. There's a cartoon. There's based on a manga. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm from a rough part of town, and I've been growing up in a sort of a rough world. But now I am the domestic guy, and so there's a manga that's now adapted into an anime and a live action. And I think they might be on Netflix. It's called Way of the House Husband, and it's about a former Yakuza guy who is now the domestic partner, and his wife is some kind of administrative executive or lawyer. I don't know what she does, to be honest. And it's all about the things that this tough guy does around the household, and don't use that. Bleach is the wrong thing to put in that. It's the most ridiculous stuff. And that's kind of me. You imagine this big domestic gorilla. Yeah, so I got to mix spaghetti sauce. But this has been super fun. I really appreciate everybody coming out. I really appreciate the sharing of ideas and stuff together. Anybody has any of those sorts of things, let's go. Spit them out like hot fire. That's the greatest thing. I mean, somebody's going to get a hold of that, and it changes their work. It's going to be so cool. Oh, So that's super cool. Thank you, Dee Dee. That's always sweet. Yeah, this has been really fun. Thank you for everything today. This has been super cool of you sharing this process with us. And yeah, I hope everybody took notes. I hope everybody gives this a shot. As why not? It's fun to do these sort of things and play. But I'm going to sign off for now. I might show up at some point this weekend. But before I go, 9 p.m. EST, 6 p.m. PST, which would mean, Gary, I think it's 7 p.m. for you. Isn't it an hour different from California to Arizona? Anyhow, Jim Luan is going to be on and doing his new stream. And if you get a chance, right, jump in. It's super cool what he's up to. And so I'm really looking forward to it myself. So please do that. Sunday night. Forget about the Oscars. Jim told me the Oscars were on, and I got all excited. No. And yeah, forget about the Oscars. Watch Jim. Gary says an hour different. But daylight saving switches next week. Oh, well, that's next week. Or is that'll be Sunday? That's midnight. That doesn't happen until midnight. But the best thing about streams, Philip, is that you can tune them into afterwards, right? That's the thing that I think is so fun about doing it this way. The Oscars are good when Ricky Gervais is on. I'm that horrible. So, okay. And anyways, I'm going to wrap up. So thanks very much, everybody, for hanging out. I'm really interested in whatever you're doing. But I hope you keep on with your creating process, and I'd love to see what you're doing. But in the meantime, I'm off to make spaghetti sauce. Hope everybody has a great week, and if I don't talk to you, bye for now. Back on Monday, 2 o'clock.